Hello, my friends. Welcome back to me, Klarisia. And today we're going to talk about the differences between British and American English. So, this article is from Uletus and Inigo, www.uletus.jp and www.inigo.jp. Without any further ado, let's take. So, these are the elements of what we are going to talk about. First, writer's purpose. Second, the summary. The third, critical comment. And the fourth, value. And the last but not least is new vocabulary. Now, let's take a look at the first content. Writer's purpose. First, the differences between British English and American English. Of course, the main idea of the article is to distinguish between British English and American English. There are some aspects we can learn and will be explained at the next explanation. And second, avoid the misunderstanding. British English and American English sometimes have different purposes and point of view. So, to avoid the misunderstanding, we have to recognize each element of them. And the last is helping those who want to study British English or American English specifically. For some people, especially those who want to study English better, they tend to use or choose which accent they're gonna learn. Now let's take a look at the second content. It is summary. First, convention. Convention based on Cambridge Dictionary is a large formal meeting for people who do a particular job or have a similar interest, or a large meeting for a political company, or in this case, and simplest way is the agreement of ensemble. So they differentiate the American English and British English based on the dates, the use of O, through, hyphens, Z or S, the use of I's, and etc. Vocabulary. American English usually uses antenna, aluminum, counterclockwise, on weekends and etc. Meanwhile, in the British English, usually uses aerial or television, um, aluminium, and anti-clockwise, and at weekends. So you can see the differences, right, from the vocabulary between American English and British English. And the last part of summary is the cultural. This is very interesting for me because I've found so many um, news here. First, American English quickly adopts new usage. They simply adopt a new discovery or vocabulary into the language, and let's say American English is really up to date. Second is more direct and vivid. American English usually says the right goal and clear. And the last is less slangy. They also tend to use new words or popular words. Let's say nowadays language and not the original one. However, in the British, they react slowly to new usage. They not really tend to use the new usage like American, and they keep the original English. And then last, slangy. They usually use the original language and really rare to use slang. Wow, that's pretty good. And often use humorous purposes. And so when they want to speak and they want to say something, it's just like for kidding maybe, and just, yeah, maybe they often say jokes. Maybe. And the next is slight tendency, vagueness, and thunderous diction. It means a little unclear and a slow response. The third content is my critical comment. As you can see, um, there are two positives and three negatives. So here you are. Cultural and convention are extremely wide and important aspects to learn. I like it because they can be added to my essay later, and those new aspects are useful to be known, especially if you want to catch the idea of each accent. However, the article doesn't show more aspects and sources. We just stuck on the some ideas but don't know about the further reason. And I didn't get the special tips to make us easier to differentiate them. Of course, it is hard for the beginners to learn. The article seems a bit unstructural. It doesn't provide the really basic distinction between two accents. I've got the values from the article. Let's see, from the first values is cultural side. In British English, they use the euphemisms as the humorous purposes and being smooth in unpleasant events. They use the euphemisms in Indonesia is pelembutan bahasa to show their idea, even if they don't like something. It also occurs in the unpleasant event or moment. They keep talking with an euphemisms phrase like it's interesting, but the word interesting doesn't mean always they interest with that fact or something. For the American English, they're usually well manners and a bit prude. They really pay attention to the attitude and seems like a bit prude with something. So it's just like overload, I think. And for the convention, I can learn from the punctuation, the terminology, and hyphens, double L when suffix added, and preposition haven't got and gotten, while, whilst, something like that. So this is really good to be learned, I think. The last is new vocabulary. First, terminology, or in Indonesia, we say it as istilah-istilah or peristilahan. Second, hyphen or tanda penyambung. And the third, convention. Convention in Indonesia is persetujuan or perhimpunan. And the fourth, composite. In Indonesia, we call it as gabungan. And the fifth, enforceable. Enforceable in Indonesia is dapat terselenggara. And the next is plow, or we call it as membajak. Counterclockwise. Counterclockwise is berlawanan arah jarum jam. And euphemism. Euphemism in Indonesia is ungkapan lembut. And lavatory. Lavatory in Indonesia is kamar kecil. And the last is manuscript. Manuscript. In Indonesia, we call it as naskah. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching and kindly to share your thought and critical comments below. See you!